Okay, so this match was played right after the first video that I've made, the first after action report. Uh, this is the third video in the series, but this is the second game if we're talking in chronological order of how they were played. So it's me, Nope, and Lemon again. All in still the same faction, so I'm still US, Nope's Soviets, and Lemon's Brits. Now, this game goes on for like an hour or so, and basically towards the end, about 45 minutes in, we force one guy to drop the game because it went for so long, and it was basically a war of attrition. And we managed to keep on knocking out their vehicles, and they didn't get any really good trades in return for it. So it was a constant battle of attrition in which we got the upper hand. Our tank destroyers basically pick off their heavy armor like Panthers and Tigers, and this basically is how for half an hour it played out, and we eventually win. So I'm just gonna go over, like I said before in the previous video, over the major points in this replay. I might just try to fast forward through most of it, but I'm just trying to cover all the important points that we can see and try to learn from. So from my point of view here, I'm going off to the right, and I'm trying to go for this fuel, right? Either I capture it or I try to deny it to the enemy. Problem here is that the OKW is here on the right. Now I knew this because if you look on the map at the beginning of the game, you can see that there's a discoloration on the ground if there's an OKW guy. So I already knew that OKW was on this side as well. But I made the mistake here of trying to go for the fuel knowing that the OKW player is here. Because early game, the OKW player, he has an advantage, basically. A slight advantage, but still an advantage. What I should have done was just try go for the cutoff point here. But he didn't actually cap it. So even though for the early to mid game, I feel like I'm not performing that well, or playing as good as I should. When I re-looked at this replay, I realized that I actually did a pretty okay job. For the most part, this guy here, he doesn't manage to go into the mid to screw things up for my teammates, which is really good. And it's only up until the late game where he gains an upper hand, and I have to give up the flank. So yeah, engagement here not going too well. And well, that's that. So now it's just going to be me counterattacking this position. So here on the left and middle, basically the yellow Wehrmacht player here, he decides to play a little bit passive, and he decides to play on both sides. He switches from left and right. The blue Wehrmacht player here, he just constantly goes after Lemon for the most part of the game, and Lemon doesn't have any room to maneuver because he's focusing on just holding on to this fuel here, and he mainly just plays on this one flank. Now the thing about Lemon as he plays this match is that he basically plays with one arm behind his back, because he's going to leave his support weapons behind here to try to protect these 2 points. When in theory, and the way I see it, there's not that much of room for the enemy to flank around to capture the points, but this is what he's worried about. And basically his machine gun stays here for at least 20 minutes or so, and he gets accompanied by an AT gun. So the only thing I asked him was, so why not utilize the support weapons? And he says that the enemy did counterattack along somewhere at this point here, but I didn't see it the first time I watched the replay. I'm going to see if I can catch what happens in this viewing. But he manages, even though he's only using his infantry to impact the game and make some counter plays in the middle, try to relieve the pressure off Nope, who's gonna pretty much be stuck on this middle point here. Later on, once I give up the right flank, Nope manages to hold his line in the middle and also prevent any flanks from the cyan color OKW player here, which is quite good, quite impressive actually. But yeah, going back to Lemon, so he's basically gonna, for the first half an hour or so, to make plays with just his core infantry and his armor units, which he's about to get out, and he does really well. In theory, if he utilized his support weapons more, I'm pretty confident he would have been able to have like repelled the Wehrmacht player all the way back, and would have been able to flank the middle so that Nope could move in to occupy it. But that's not what happens. And at the end of the day, I'm not the guy playing the Brits here. I'm not on the left flank, and I wasn't here. I mean, I was here. I was on the right side here. And nothing much to see here other than it just goes back and forth for the most part. I do go for the cutoff points as we move on to the game here. But yeah, I managed to get a pretty good handle on the guy right up into the late game. So I'm doing okay here. But yeah, the support weapons for Lemon. We'll just see how it goes. And as I was saying, I wasn't the one playing the Brits. And I wasn't on the left. I wasn't the one on the left flank, and it's easy to judge. And I see this with a lot of other people who review replays. They'll be constantly looking at minor things that occur, and be pointing out like, why are you not microing this? Well, there's like a million things that go on in a team game. I mean, first of all, the map's huge. Second of all, you have to take into account not only the enemy, which there are 3 in this case in the team game, maybe it's 3v3 or 4v4. You have to take into account there are multiple enemies and you have your own multiple teammates basically. No one can keep track of all that. Not even the best players who play top tier competitive competitive heroes. You see them losing units as well. Of course, when they lose units, they can still come back. People like me lose units, it's basically game over. But you can't keep track of everything, really. So Nope here, he decides to shift over, and I don't blame him because he's been having trouble to breaking the middle here. What basically happens is that because the blue Wehrmacht player is so close in terms of its operational area to the yellow guy, their units support each other a lot, and they bring in a lot of support weapons, so Nope has a pretty hard time trying to break in through here. So yeah, I'm still not seeing the flanks here. I'm assuming there's a flank that comes in here later on. But Nope comes into the right to help me out. The Axis now deploy their light vehicles. This point here, we get a little bit of a problem. I do get my AT gun out. Basically, my build is I just go for the same thing. It's just going to be a go Lieutenant and Captain. I only go 2 riflemen. And that allows me to get an MG and an AT gun. So I've got basically an all-rounded army. I have been running into trouble lately with this build because every now and then you're going to face an opponent that's playing more focused on infantry. And basically having all these support weapons, they basically have an advantage in numbers. So I get into trouble. Now I get lucky shots off because I don't know what he was doing. Yeah, he was probably microing something else. I get lucky shots off on the AA half track here with my AT gun and knock it out. And so the game continues here on that flank. So no attack has happened because he doesn't have any veterancy. He's got his AT gun coming out now, so he's got all his support weapons. So Lemon's build here is also similar to mine in the sense that we go for the same things. Basically, we have a set strategy in mind as we're going into the game, and his build is basically all-rounded as well, like mine. But I believe he gets better success because the Brits, especially when they get their like 5-man squads out, they perform better, they scale better into the mid-late game. Either that, or because my micro is terrible and all my riflemen keep on dying, I never get them up to vet 3. Well, that could be the other explanation.
Medical supplies and weapons ready to airdrop along our front line.
So getting around. So yeah, lots of support weapons by the yellow guy here. It's basically two players playing in conjunction. Because like I said before, their area of operations are so close they overlap. I never paid much attention to the map design, but it does seem that on my side here, there's a little bit more distance to the middle than it is for the Wehrmacht players. That might just be my imagination, I'm not too sure. Now, one thing that I did identify in this game is that this area here across the bridge, this was basically the weakness in the Axis lines, basically, because for the most part, neither me nor this right side OKW player ever put in much defenses or units into it. There are a couple of attacks that go across the bridge, but there aren't a lot of mines. There aren't a lot of machine guns that get placed down either. And as the game progresses, both of us basically forget that this bridge exists. And if we had realized this earlier, if we mounted an attack up across this bridge, we would have been able to have turned the entire middle flank, basically. So we got Nope's army here now. Got a core infantry of 2 guards and 2 cons. Just have a look at the army. So yeah, I'm not doing too well. Army is now pretty small, taking quite a few losses. We go look over at the Wehrmacht player. The yellow guy, as the game progresses, he's going to have a lot more support units in the game. He's just going to sit them on this side of the riverbank, basically. Blue player having a little bit of trouble. Lemon is performing very well. He's got his fast cobble out. So yeah, running into the support weapons here. The blue player will end up joining the yellow player in bringing out a lot more support weapons, basically. And we'll see that later on. And the point there that I want to point out when we get there is the same point that I was trying to talk about in the first after action report. Is that we as a team, me, Nope, and Lemon, we have a lot of trouble trying to mount a attack, basically. We can't generate enough momentum, and we can't like coordinate our forces efficiently in order to attack. We are good at counter-attacking, which is a lot of that happens here, just like in the first video as well. Every time our opponents manage to push us away, we regroup and then we hit them back, and we are able to get back into the fight, basically. So yeah, I'm assuming that he misplaced his MG because he said that the blue player here, he comes through the forest. I'm assuming it was this flank because this is where the disconnect is between him and Nope here. But there's plenty of cases where you have vision for the most part. I mean, at this point in time, Nope's forces are skewed a little bit to the right, but throughout the rest of the game, there'll be units present here to make sure that no like major flank comes in. So the MG, you know, well, it is what it is. One thing I have to add here is that me and Lemon, our faith in Nope is it's not the strongest faith. Yeah, Nope. When you're watching this, it's all in it's all good fun. You're doing all right. walk into this MG here, but for the most part, I do have the point and the cutoff, so I'm happy.
Suppressive fire!
So yeah, if we just look at the TAC map, yeah, I do have the cutoff on it. Yep, this point right here. Now this is what I'm talking about, like being a little bit uncoordinated. If Nope was ready, which is not because he's regrouping, and he only has this T-70 out here. If he had like at least 2 infantry squads about 30 seconds ago, it would have been a good push, because there's barely anything here that can stop them. Yeah, Lemon has done a really good job. If we compare the army on the top left and top right corners here, army composition wise, he's basically lost half of what he had at the opening of his build. Basically, he's lost a lot of guys. He does have a Panzerwolf though, so that's good. Good for him, not for us. We compare Nope and his counterpart. Like I said, lots of support weapons, 3 core infantry. So technically, even though it looks like Nope has a small army, like he did in the second video that I put out, in terms of core infantry units, he's doing pretty well. So long as he doesn't walk into their support weapons, he will have technically an advantage. Things not going too well here.
On the field.
Let me just speed it up for this part here till we get to the late game. So back and forth at this point. Right now it's attrition of infantry, and as we go into the late game, there'll be attrition of armor, and we come on top in that regard.
Stand at 300 points. Howitzers have pinpointed the enemy and are prepared to saturate them with fire.
So I run into trouble with these Obersoldaten. Just have very poor micro at this point in time. Now this is what I didn't realize at the time of the game, is that these units here are Wehrmacht players. So as I start mounting my attack and I'm trying to go for the cutoff point, I'm fighting 2 guys basically, because he's sitting his support weapons. So this is the point where if you want to sit the support weapons, how it works is that you kind of keep them in like a kind of reserve passive role, where in the event that the enemy might flank, that you're covered basically. In this case here, the yellow player, he's set his guys up on a point which is very important. It's the cutoff point for their fuel. And anytime I want to attack, he doesn't need to micro anything. They're already pointed in one position. The cyan color OKW player, all he needs to do is maneuver his troops around the support weapons and either bait me into them or engage me with his concentrated infantry on the flanks. I got my Calliope out here, so I'm trying to deal with his blobs and whatnot. So the fight goes on there, and I managed to still, keep the OKW player in check and mount several successful counterattacks up to the point. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to get this point as this game goes on. I think it's only at like 40 minutes or so I managed to get back here. So quite a long ways to go before I ever come back to this point. So we got the good old Croc, Flamethrower, Churchill.
You can now use Beaufort's gun positions.
I mean, there really isn't much here at this point in time. I'm fairly confident looking at it now. And of course, at the time of the game, and this is the reason why we can't mount successful attacks, is that our recon abilities and our recon elements are completely out of whack. Most of the time when Lemon and Nope are pulling up their recon, I'm on the other side microing. Well, at this point I'm not microing. At this point I'm evaluating the position, where to go, and I'm trying to re-maneuver my units. But for the most part, for the game as it goes on for an hour long, every time they're pulling up their recon on their side, I'm off on my side doing my micro and stuff. I don't see what's going on. When I'm off putting recon on my side, they're doing their stuff and they don't see what's going on. And I'm pretty sure that the same thing still occurs here, in the sense that even though that Nope and Lemon are basically right next to each other, every time somebody's recon's going out, they're still microing something somewhere that they are not able to utilize the information that we're gathering, basically. For the most part, there could have been a decent push right here at this point, and we could have basically won the game earlier, because we've done pretty well in the mid-game here. We're going into the late game. So it's at this point when I mount this massive counterattack, I realize that there isn't much here, and I try to go for a play into the middle, basically, trying to ignore the OKW fella here on the right. I do make some decent plays, but I don't have enough units to generate enough momentum to try to influence the center. But as you can see here, they only got really one pack gun and these two Shreks. He gets some support from Nope here. Sees the opening and comes in to help. Nope decides to go into the base. I'm not too sure why. We do find information that they have a tiger, but other than that... Did he take out the Panzerwerfer? No, Panzerwerfer is still. So that was that. KW fella is just restructuring his lines, re-establishing his presence on the right. He's regrouped. Now I'm going to counterattack.
Heavy tank awaiting orders.
We definitely have enough units to mount a successful attack. In the previous game, first after action report, that wasn't the case in most of the game. Our opponents still had a decent amount of units, but yeah, what needs to be done is that better communication and coordination for the most part. Recon, probably the biggest factor that we need to overcome. Identifying all the threats and looking for openings in the enemy lines, followed by better coordination, because most of the time every attack that has occurred, except for that recent attack across this bridge with me and Nope, it's always been a single attack where Lemon goes in, trades blows with one of the opponents. Nope is off on his side a little bit, out of range, but in close proximity though, he's trading blows with his opponent, and they sort of like alternate back and forth. And what needs to be done is that an attack needs to be done at the same time, at the same point. Now, the ISU here. Now, I was under the impression that the ISU is basically a heavy tank destroyer, and that it has a lot of health, and its frontal armor is pretty strong. And of course, it's got the massive gun with pretty good range. As the game progresses and I get my Jacksons out, what I try to do is that I'm trying to use his ISU as the initial unit to spearhead the attack, because he's got good frontal armor and he's got health. My Jackson's basically pretty weak. They don't have much armor and not that much health. I'm basically treating the ISU like I treated the Churchill in the first game. And how I'm going to treat the Churchill in this game as well is that these heavy tanks, they need to go forward to probe the enemy, identify the threats, and then my Jacksons maneuver in behind them and then knock out all their armor. But the problem is, as I find out later after the match, so I'm talking to Nope, Nope is under the impression that the ISU doesn't have much armor or much health. I haven't actually checked the stats, but I don't think that's right. But even so, the way that it impacts this game is that both me and him are waiting for each other to go first. I'm waiting for him to go first with his ISU to spot targets and take the initial shots from the enemy, so that then my Jacksons can counterfire them. But he's waiting for me, I think, because I have so many tanks. Later on as the game progresses, I think I get about three Jacksons out at one point. He wants me to send one of them out as like the sacrificial lamb to spot the targets, but that's not what we're gonna do. So me and Nope as like an attacking force. That was never going to happen in this game, basically. That's what I'm trying to say. Because each of us are waiting for each other to make the first move. In terms of counterattacking, we're doing alright. It's gone pretty okay. So we got a forward HQ here on the far left. Lemon decides to build the bow first, because now he's moved up his support weapons forward. But I still don't agree, because at the end of the day, nobody has really come through here at all, and he's got good mine placements as well, so he's pretty well covered. I see the distance between this flank right here. Be worried about being flanked through the forest. Well, the forests that were here, they're all destroyed now. Nope's units, for the most part, well, they're not here now, but earlier they were. They would have gotten vision. He would have gotten warning in order for him to react. But yeah. That'll be the last time I'll say anything about that. So both is here. Good damage put in. Yeah, now we have problems. They've got all their support weapons aimed at Lemon's flank as he tries to make any plays there.
The enemy is taking our territory. Enemy forces are securing our territory. The enemy has driven a wedge in our lines.
So this was a position that we could have pushed a little bit more aggressively, but it's a disconnect because we're not on comms, mind you. Everything that we do here is just the chat in game that we have to type out. Nope here does not like to talk. But right there, we could have gotten an easy kill on that tiger. He was busy trying to mop up infantry here, but there was a massive opening right there to kill the tiger right here. Missed opportunity. I should immediately retreat here. There's not much going on that I can do. I think the idea here was to keep the machine gun to keep sight on them for my Jacksons to pick apart, but there's like way too many units here to even like try to think about making a counterplay with the Jacksons without infantry support, like proper infantry support. Should have just pulled it out there. trying to do that again with the rifleman to spot, but he's got his infantry screening as well. Yeah, and I completely forget that they are there. So I've got my Calliope and my third Jackson's about to come out. And it's at this point here, once I've massed all this armor, I'm going to switch over to the left flank here. And basically the play that me and Lemon have is that his Churchill and his Firefly, I support basically his Churchill and Firefly on one flank and then try to break through. But as I said before, as I've been saying for this video and the last video, we don't manage to get a very successful attack, to initiate a proper attack. It just doesn't go the way that we envision it to be. Get a good Calliope strike here. Lost the captain there. Yeah, my infantry is all gone at this point. Need to take better care of that. Lots of good damage there. He's got a Panther out now. Here in the middle. Oh my. I'm assuming Nope is using the T-34 to spot, which isn't a really good candidate for spotting. But he gets some of the job done. ISU is getting shots in on the Tiger there. So I maneuvered my armor over here on the left side now. But at this point in time, even though I've moved over, he's already been in an engagement and his armor is in need of repair. So we can't actually attack now. So you see there's even more disconnect in our coordination. What I did do, however, is that I told Nope that I'm switching over to the left. So he technically is keeping an eye out for any major push here. I still got my infantry units here to like provide vision and warning, basically. Which, come to think of it, looking back at it, is a very big risk, because basically now I have to micro two sides, which I've been doing a lot lately, and it's not good. Basically, when you're microing two separate areas at the same time, you end up losing both fights, which isn't any good. It would be better just to focus on one area and give all the attention and give yourself a better chance to win that engagement. But here it does alright. I just keep a couple units on the far right flank here. Anytime that this OKW player comes in, Nope's technically kind of ready for it. So here, like our attack that we were supposed to conduct, the Churchill is not prepared, and my Jacksons are in front of the Churchill. It's not how it's supposed to be.
Sherman ready.
So I've got my 3 Jacksons and 2 Calliopes, so we have more than enough firepower to basically crush anything that's left here, because they don't have that much. As long as we could identify where the pack guns are, we can Calliope them, and once they're knocked out, the Churchill has more than enough armor and health to deal with the Shreks for maybe 1 or 2 shots, and the Tiger 1 or 2 shots. And by the time they get those 1 or 2 shots off, my Jacksons, no problem, would have been able to take out the Tiger, and Lemon's infantry would have been able to mop up the Shrek blob here. That's how it should work in theory. But, that's not how it plays out. So I keep 1 Calliope just behind Nope's infantry, so that anytime that this right OKW player try to ships over, I have some support to him, so he's not all alone basically. And the other Calliope is I bring over to the left side. This is how I'm trying to micro both sides. Yeah, I overextend here.
Infantry unit being wiped out.
So the point where I overextend, Nope's trying to repair his ISU. However, Lemon's Churchill is set, so I wasn't paying attention to like which side basically. My fault for losing that Jackson. So I should have maneuvered around to the left and waited for Lemon. But as I've said, communication coordination is a bit out of whack. This is not going well.
We've lost a unit.
Pretty sure what was going on there was that he was busy trying to make sure that the Churchill doesn't die, which is very important. But the infantry paid for it. So after that short stint on the flank there, not being able to mount a successful attack, I've come back over to the right in the meantime and wait till we've generated enough units to try seize the initiative again. So got Katyusha strikes coming in. I think this is why Nope is under the impression that there isn't any armor or health on the ISU, because he just walked into like 2 pack guns and 2 tigers. Yeah, that is gonna hurt, but he's taken a ton of shots. I mean, this thing definitely has a lot of health and a lot of frontal armor. Definitely is suited to the way that I assumed how the ISU acted. Got fresh rangers here, trying to get some infantry. I've lost 1 Jackson. Trying to rebuild the infantry here. So we need to regroup. Oh wow, I didn't know that, but Nope is floating 1k manpower again. And he has a ton of fuel. Wow. What would be helpful here is 1 more Katyusha to help out my 2 Calliopes, and then start spamming T-34s for the most part. That would be very helpful. A T-70 would be pretty good as well, actually. He doesn't have the ability to make vehicles cloak. But a T-70 to spot for all of our artillery indirect fire and for my Jacksons is what I'm more concerned about. That would be very helpful. To have a dedicated unit to spot for us. And at least then we can identify where we want to attack and how we want to go about it. Lemon is floating 1k manpower now as well. I'm the only person here that has absolutely nothing. This is kind of embarrassing, come to think about it. I've been bled dry. And this is where the attrition starts. Now that we have all of our units exactly where we want them, we just put them in the same area. We start picking their armor units one at a time. And I don't know which player, I'm pretty sure it's the blue player, he decides to quit, drop the game. I think we knock out his tiger twice, I believe. I think he loses this one and gets another one and then loses both of them. Not entirely sure, but yeah. Just look at the army compositions again. So this is my flank. Look at Lemon's flank. Compare. Lemon's still doing pretty good in terms of infantry against the blue player. and armor-wise, we're dominating for the most part. Nope's finally replenished his infantry. He's got 2 fresh guards out. But the yellow player, as I said, is just focusing on support weapons. Ooh, that's rough. Aha, yeah, there's the first tiger gone.
We've lost an anti-tank gun. Someone doesn't like us. They're gone. Find us a new target.
Good kills. What we really need the Katusha for is to try and knock out the pack guns, because the Flamecrock Churchill, he can mop up the machine guns easily. But of course we have enough firepower here. I mean, Nope's got his 1 Katusha. I've got my 2 Calliope still up. We've got enough firepower here to knock out everything that we want. Knock out the pack guns and machine guns. And once both of them are gone, our armor and infantry can pour in and mop up the rest of the enemy units. So I'm taking some hits here. Traffic jam here. Yeah, these raid sections with the Vickers, they do a lot of damage. He's doing a pretty good job. He's actually managing to pick off all the support weapons here. So we have an opening here. These 2 raid sections have just walked up and made an opening, but we are not in a position to capitalize on it. I mean, technically we are now. If we push now, that would be pretty good. But yeah, there were opportunities to win this game much faster. That's probably the biggest point to take. OKW player seems to be a bit passive. And just as I say that, he mobilizes, of course. Ooh, Panzer Warfare. The one time I realized that he needs to be repaired, I go over help him, then should be in a good position to counterattack. I mean, honestly, I don't see the point in the ram there, but it's a thing that Nope does, because he wants to. He already had a damage engine, you have an ISU. You just need to keep spot on it, that's all. He wasn't getting out of it. So I got some infantry back. It's just these 2 ranger units. And I'm coming over, so massive push on the left flank here. Well, that's the idea that I'm trying to go for here. And really, honestly, it can work right now. We just go all in here. They don't have anything. But yeah, disconnect, because he's still repairing his Churchill. If we went in with the Churchill, all our units, if I just waited 60 seconds, then it's game over basically. I mean, the middle is basically gone at this point.
Under fire! Damn, the bastards are going.
Yeah, so keep on going piecemeal. Good shot there. Lost T-34, abandoned. ISU operating alone. He's managed to discourage the OKW player from going any further. He sees the ISU and he just doesn't want much to do with that. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that at this point in the game, as we were playing it, we were under the impression that they still had massive amounts of support units here, but they basically have nothing. Nothing that we can't handle with just the units that we have, basically. Even if we didn't have any support units, there's not much here that they can do. Knock out the MGs and the infantry to come in and support. We can do that because we've got the Crop Churchill.
The enemy are at 200 points. A few less bastards to worry us.
Just fast forward here a bit. Churchill gets pretty close to dying there a little bit. But, managed to get the break in here.
From a new forward base. We have 200 points remaining.
Almost got the kill on the Tiger there. Lost to Jackson and overextending their Shrek gloves. It's around about here that the blue player basically drops in the game. That's the game basically. Alright, so he commits to attack here.
Sherman Firefly complete.
Pick off another Panther. Still couldn't quite get the Tiger. Got his second Firefly back. King Tiger on the right. I don't recall this part. Got another good Calliope strike there. Was that the Katusha? I think that was the Katusha. Tiger has returned. Good tulip strike, and there we go, it's gone. And I think it's at this point the guy drops from the game. Lots and lots of artillery. I actually did get quite close to my Calibes there. I did not realize that. telling his infantry ranges here. It's the only counterplay that I can make. As infantry is basically gone. I am actually a popcat. That explains things. I totally forgot about that. Having 2 Calibis and 3 Jacksons is quite a lot. Get some good shots off there.
WPM-110 smoke strike can be delivered to cover our men.
And there you go, the drop. Yep, that's it. That's basically the game.